Jaja is coming there. Jah will let it talking to the people out there. You gotta be, yes, gotta be.
In our morning show, we're discussing the role of religion in young Muslims and a lot more. Joining us in studio is Mtima Solwazi, the founder of the Roots Foundation. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me here.
It's a pleasure to have you on the show with us this morning. Before we get into the role of religion in the life of young Muslims, let's talk about the Roots Foundation first. Give us a little background into the foundation.
So the Roots Foundation is actually called the Oral Tradition.
Okay.
Roots Foundation. Roots is an acronym for Reflections of Our Oral Traditions. What we do, we use oral traditions with a focus on spoken word poetry as a catalyst for social change. But as cliche as that may sound, we have three main programming where we allow persons to express themselves. We have festivals, so we host our own local festival called Cascado. We have interventions. Our main intervention is called Abyssinia, A Journey of Change, which was designed to address specifically that gang issue that has left the streets and has entered the schools. And back then we were addressing the whole Rasta city, Muslim city conflict. And then we have Beyond the Lens, where we use digital media as a form of social impact and all about expressing yourselves, you know.
And have you found with the work that you've done so far that it has been able to make a difference in the lives of the younger ones?
Yes, your colleague I know this morning was mentioning his nephews in our program, because part of the Abyssinia program, we have a program right now called different components. We have one called Aim High, which is sponsored by the U.S. Embassy, and we're in 4 schools right now: East Mokrapo, Mokrapo West, Aranguez North, and Sanwa North, where it's a school violence prevention or reduction program. So we engage young people. We ask them, it's very important, because to stop violence in schools, it can be you and I.
Exactly.
The children, could they fight in? Right? Unless some parent come in the school to fight. So we ask the children, what are the problems? And how can you resolve those problems to address violence in the schools? And the 4 schools came up with some interesting ideas. I won't share it now. That is for later on when we want to launch it. But 4 beautiful programs each school came up with, the students of the school. That is very important.
And this sounds like a fantastic initiative. We need to have you back on the show to speak a bit more about this foundation. We're going to go into a different form of discussion now, speaking about the role of religion with young Muslims in particular. Let's start with peer pressure. From where you sit and your wide experience, would you say that peer pressure is something that is a problem for young people in the faith? And what exactly does it entail?
Well, peer pressure is a problem for young people in the whole.
Right, yes, very true.
Right, so being Muslim is nothing new to experience peer pressure, but one of the challenges that I'm cautiously speaking on behalf of young people. I'm not that young, again, but they face, in terms of the peer pressure, like for instance, Ramadan started the week that school had closed, right? So they were started a fast that last week of school. And they back out of school today, and we're still in the month of Ramadan. So someone might ask, so long you fasting? Because as for a child, you fasted before school closed, school open back, you still fasting. That in itself is a form of peer pressure that youth doesn't really understand and could relate and could express themselves. Well, we fasting for 29 or 30 days, so there's within the vacation period. You know, so sometimes non-Muslims may feel what we do is a pressure on the whole. You know, how you're surviving as a fasting. So we have to equip our young people with the tools that they could explain themselves. And we can't take for granted because you're born in a Muslim family, you are Muslim. You have to teach your child to be Muslim. You have to train them. Right? Because I was born in a Christian family, and I learned about Christianity when I became a Muslim.
Interesting.
Yeah, I just used to go to church for the wine, for the little biscuits. Right? But I was not really into the teachings of the church until I became Muslim. We did comparative religion. So you cannot have your child home and then send them out into this world with so many distractions. social media, their friends in school, boys now want to ask girls, why you here? Why your head covered? Something wrong with your hair? I could touch your hair, I could see your hair. So all these are things that young Muslims will face in the school population, and then we have the wider society.
Definitely. Now, it's interesting as we speak about, as you mentioned, let's say with children, school finishes, they know you're fast, and you come back out, you're still fast.
Still fasting.
And people are like, well, what's going on? And for some, that can be perceived as quite restrictive.
Yeah.
Now, are there a lot of restrictions, or at least what we perceive to be restrictions in the faith, particularly?
When I now embraced Islam many, many moons ago, right?
Yeah.
The first thing some brothers say, you can't. I say, oh, hold on. What can I do? And I think we just start off introducing this thing in the wrong way.
Okay.
You can't. Yes, there are a lot of things I could do. And the restrictions we have basically deals with in terms of what we eat, what we wear, and our behavior.
Right.
Right? And we're in a society that, I don't want to say we promote immorality, but it's a challenge.
It's a challenge,
yes,
definitely.
You come out in society and it's all over, it's all around, on the TV, on the papers.
Yeah.
So people may see that as restriction, but that's just how our life is governed by the Quran and the teachings of Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him, right? So it's about our behavior, right? So you wouldn't see a Muslim engage in certain behaviors that may be acceptable at a societal level, right? You could drink alcohol in society, but we can't drink alcohol, right? So people are, boy, think you have pressure, go take a little bet. I go play a mark. We can't play a mark. Right? But is that a restriction? No, that is our code of conduct. So it may be seen as a restriction for the non-Muslim, but that's just how we live. That's our code of conduct. It's not a restriction
it's
in
not,
a sense.
It's a way of life, basically.
But Islam is a way of life. Yeah.
And essentially, and as you mentioned that, especially with the advent of social media, we have TikTok, Instagram, all these things, which, of course, young people are highly invested in.
Yes.
That can be definitely, I would assume, challenging for young Muslims as well, seeing this all the time and knowing that the way of life that I choose to live is something that is completely different.
And we have to find a way to, I'm using a beat up word, empower our children to use. So, like, I used to work in a school before. I used to work for many years. And the cell phone rule.
Yeah.
But you have to find a way to have these children utilize the cell phone outside of trying to take, record Miss buffing you or Sir buffing you, right? So we do not topic. You want to research something, Google it.
Phone. Exactly.
So you find out we know that they could use the same device constructively. So it's not telling young Muslims, don't go on social media, it's the devil, or billah, it's haram. But how can you use that same medium? Because I remember years ago again, as an Islamic scholar telling me, TV haram, it's unlawful. Don't watch it. He has a program on television. So I saying, okay, how you negotiating that? You telling me don't watch your morning show, but you hosting your morning show. So we have to really be practical because Islam is a practical religion.
Yeah.
Not airy-fairy.
All right. That's interesting, as you mentioned, being a practical religion, not airy-fairy. Agreed 100%. And also just, if we can go back to the restrictions, particularly when it comes to young Muslims and love. I mean, I should use the term love very lightly because when you're young...
Hello, love is love. You said this morning, love is lovely.
Love is lovely. It's the best thing in the world. But let's talk about young Muslims. Can they be physically affectionate before marriage? What are the rules around that? Keeping in mind, of course, that I know there are different views on this.
So they cannot, plain out, be affectionate before marriage.
Okay.
Or, sorry, they should not. Because I might say they cannot, and somebody's watching and say, my girl is a Muslim, my boyfriend is a Muslim, so they should not.
They shouldn't.
Right? Let's be practical and real.
Right.
Right? That's one of the restrictions. They should not get involved in extramarital relations. Although we have a society that says that you can have a common law and they have the same rights as a marriage, but in Islam that is not our practice. Right. How do we treat that? Again, we cannot lock away our sons and our daughters, right? Because some societies try to do that. Communities lock them away, right? So, Guy Allen come for lock them away, right? So you have to create environments,
of course,
where they meet each other in a safe, friendly environment. Because let's be real, you lock your daughter away, she's going to bring a boyfriend home. Some cases he's not a Muslim.
Right, so that's the next question.
You lock your son away, you go bring a girlfriend home. In some cases, he's not a Muslim.
And what about that? What about marrying outside of the faith?
It is not advisable that a woman should marry outside of the faith. And I'm saying this, and you know, sometimes when we say things, especially as a Muslim, like grab at you, know, why is she wearing a hijab on her head? The nun wear a head covering, the Baptists wear a head covering, the Hindu. So we kind of a little picky when it comes to Islam and Muslims. For her protection, meaning the husband, right, is the head of the home. Oh, look at them. Hello. All religions that say that.
Yes, agreed.
So don't come at me with that about it. Oh, he's the head of the home. What I mean, all religions say that. And he leads the prayer, right? So you need that the husband is Muslim, so the family can be guided along that path.
Right.
Now, a non-Muslim man, this have no man is better than woman, a non-Muslim man could marry outside of the faith, but what we call the people of the book, in terms of those who adhere to a certain religious ideology, not a polytheist.
Right, okay.
Right? Now, his wife, again, he's head of the home, the lead, so he will lead the prayer, right? His wife may not, or don't have to actually embrace Islam, right? But they have that allowance, right? So, yeah.
Okay, excellent. Just listening to that, and I have to agree with you there, you know, man, head of the household, leading in prayer and so forth, and you mentioned with all the different religions, it is something that we see throughout, so it's something to keep in mind. Mtima, I wish we had more time with you, and I'm really hoping that you come back on the show soon. So thank you for being here, and I hope that you continue to enjoy the rest of your day, and Ramadan Mubarak to you.
Yes, and I'd like to extend Eid Mubarak to the Muslim community.
There you go.
And the general community, because you all also celebrated us. It's a multicultural country, you know. So thank you very much for having me. It's
our pleasure to have you here. Mtima Solwazi, founder of the Oral Roots Foundation, and so much more here with us on the Now Morning Show, who will be back soon, and we'll be back right after this break.